Hi, my name is Philip Furgang, and it's my pleasure and my privilege to be taking part in this program. Let me give you a few words about myself, my firm, and what we do. My firm is Furgang and Adwar, LLP. We began 24 years ago. We have offices in the United States and, of course, New York State. We are a boutique firm with two areas of concentration: intellectual property law and entertainment law. We are a full-service firm, and by that I mean, and let me put this in terms of intellectual property rights. We help our clients with their patent, trademark, copyright, unfair competition, trade secrets, franchising, and related matters. But we're full service because we represent them not only in transactional matters, but we also represent them before the United States Patent and Trademark Office, the Copyright Office, and we also represent them in the courts. I, in fact, am admitted by special examination to be a patent attorney. That is, to represent my clients before the United States Patent and Trademark Office. I'm also a member of a number of many organizations, and I'm the past president of a local county bar, the Rockland County, New York Bar, and I'm also a founder of the intellectual property law section of the New York State Bar Association with others, and I've had the privilege of serving on their executive committee for as long as we've existed, the last 30 years. I'm an active member of the US European Patent Office Liaison Committee, where we try to represent the interests of US applicants and so on. So I think we come to this presentation with some background which will be of assistance to you. This is the first part of a two-part presentation. Each part will be approximately 10 minutes. It's safe to say that there are small and medium enterprises today which will grow in size and will one day dominate the world's marketplace, becoming household names. Innovation drives the marketplace, and if that innovation fails, the marketplace can be lost. Take, for example, the BlackBerry mobile phone. It was a mobile phone of choice, and in the US at least, it dominated the marketplace. And then along came Apple's iPhone, an innovative change. BlackBerry couldn't realize that there was a competitor there that had brought new ideas to the marketplace. And so it dug in its heels and refused to compete with Apple. And the result is obvious today. We all know Apple. There isn't very much of a BlackBerry impact any longer in the marketplace. Now, to grow from a medium or very small company or enterprise, one of the basic benefits is the intellectual property rights that they secure. Exclusivity to those rights give them a marketplace advantage like no other. The patent system, of course, it's a limited period of time, 20 years, but it gives you the opportunity to expand even further. Now, WIPO, the World Intellectual Property Organization, and the PCT, the Patent Cooperation Treaty that it administers, is a significant contributor for making such growth possible. You know, the World Intellectual Property Organization has its roots back to the end of the 19th century and became, in effect, around 1967, and by 1970 it had taken over the administration of the PCT. However, and it's simplified international filing, bringing many advantages, as I'll discuss a few of them here. However, if the users of the PCT fail to comply with the laws and regulations of the member nations that they're going to file in, there is little that WIPO or any other agency, national or international, can do for them. Those rights will be irrevocably lost. Now, I'm here directing my comments to the laws and regulations of the United States. First, some good news in this rather tough picture. The U.S. has 3 levels of filing fees, and these levels favor the small and medium enterprise, the inventor/applicant. For the purpose of our discussion today, the applicant is the owner of the invention. Now, that can be the individual inventor or a business that has ownership, or if not immediate ownership, at least a contract requiring that the inventor assign the invention to it. Now, what are these levels, 3 levels of filing fees? They are referred to, they have names provided by the statute. They are the large entity, a small entity, and a micro entity. Here is what those entities mean and what the implications are financially. Now, let's take the large entity. If an entity has 500 employees, wherever those employees may be, or it licenses the invention, and in licensing the invention, the licensees also have employees. We add them all together, and if there are 500 or more employees, they're a large entity. Now, if they have less than 500 employees, same scenario, but less than 500, then they are considered a small entity. Now, finally, the third and lowest level, if the applicant's gross income for the year 2020 is less than $206,109, this is income from all sources. That would be, by the way, in Indian currency, that would be 850.42 rupees, excuse me. That applicant qualifies for micro-entity status. So if it's less than that 15 million plus or that 206,000 plus, they get small entity. Now, to give you some idea of the differences in the fee structure, let us assume the applicant has filed an international application under the Patent Cooperation Treaty and now is about to file in the national stage in the U.S. Now, taking just one of those fees in a list of fees that provided, so this is not the only fees, and eventually even the micro entity pays fees, but this is one way of looking at these fees and giving you an idea of the levels of fee structure. If the applicant is a large entity, those 500 employees, the filing fee is $320 US or 23,977.76 rupees. If the applicant is that small entity, less than 500 employees, the basic filing fee is $160 or 11,988.88 rupees. Now, notwithstanding the number of employees, doesn't matter. Suppose the applicant qualifies as a micro entity. All right, then if it does, the basic filing fee is 0. So there's significant advantages to being a micro entity. It favors the small or medium-sized business. Now we come to a part which is very, very important. Is the application going to be acceptable to the United States Patent and Trademark Office? As we all know, the United States today is a major attraction to businesses because it's the largest single market in the world. That it doesn't mean it's going to stay that way forever. In the 18th century, the largest single marketplace in the world was the United Kingdom. No longer the case. So it does change, but for today, that's the situation, and it's an important area that attracts a lot of business. And the attraction for small and medium-sized enterprises is fairly clear. But here is what these businesses, all businesses really, have to be concerned about, both before and after entering the US marketplace. And at this point, I'm going to take a break for the second part, and we'll be forwarding that with this. So I'm going to start a new section. Welcome back. Here we are in the second section. So here is what businesses must be concerned about before and after entering the US marketplace. The US has a law which states that if an inventor or applicant takes certain steps, the patent application cannot be filed, and if filed and a patent should issue, it won't be enforceable. Indeed, if an applicant knowingly files an application that is not qualified, that is, it's barred by the law of the United States, there could even be criminal consequences, criminal penalties. Frankly, criminal penalties are quite rare, but they do happen, and you want to be careful what you do and how you approach this. You can't take these rules lightly. One of the important terms that I'm going to address here to understand how this works is called the priority date. The priority date is the earliest filing date that an applicant can rely upon. And usually what that means is you have filed an Indian application, for example. On that filing date of the Indian application is the priority date that establishes your rights going forward, provided you follow the rules and laws of the country in which you're going to file. And in the point of this discussion, it is the United States. So the priority date is the earliest date that an applicant can rely on. Here is why that is important. Suppose an applicant has an invention which the applicant has made. It's not experimental. They've made a working model. It works. It's complete. It does not have to be fully commercialized as an invention. Instead, what happens is the applicant, and oh yes, and one other important thing that I almost left out, the applicant doesn't have a priority date as yet. Very important. If the applicant uses the invention in a public forum, the applicant has no patent rights in the US forever. That means that anyone can make, use, and or sell the device embodying the invention for free. They don't have to pay anything to the person who, or the entity, or the company that created this invention because of that step. Now, what is a public forum? What does that mean? In the US, a public forum could be an applicant's living room or office. It depends upon access and circumstance. There is a decision by our highest court, the United States Supreme Court, that held that a woman who had an invention in a kaleidoscope which she showed to her friends in her living room, lost that invention because that was public use. Say an applicant, to give you another way of looking at this in a more practical circumstance, the applicant has a novel window for use in skyscrapers, and it's up on the 26th floor. You can barely see it looking all the way up there. That doesn't matter. Install that before your priority date, you'll lose all your rights in the United States. Another aspect of this, which is very important, is what happens after an invention is filed. And you've filed it, you've complied with all the rules, your application is pending. What typically happens in many businesses? Well, the invention or the device embodying the invention gets out in the marketplace. Customers come back with objections or suggestions or improvements. Now, very often those improvements are not made by the customer. They're, I don't like the way this works or that works, and the engineers in the company make the changes. It's the same rules. Therefore, if working devices are introduced into the marketplace as public use and you haven't filed on the improvements, you'll lose the rights to those improvements. Now, it doesn't matter where this happens, by the way. It could be the US, it could be India, it could be any place. There is no limit to where this could happen. Another way rights in an invention can be lost is by US rights we're talking about, is where the device is offered for sale. Now, provided that the offering, the applicant or the business making that offer has the capability of making that invention, even if it hasn't made it yet, that offering before the priority date loses the inventive rights for the applicant. In other words, I have my widget, my invention is here. Want to buy it from me? I can make it for you. And the other side says, no, I'm not interested. The rights are lost. Now, another aspect of this, by the way, if you can't make it, it's hypothetical, but you don't really have the capabilities of making it. You're going to need to hire or engage subcontractors or build a factory or whatever. No rights are lost. None. Now, suppose you didn't do that. Suppose the applicant didn't make the offer, didn't use it in the public place, and instead the application made a written presentation, not a demonstration at a trade fair. That would lose the rights. But here, what the applicant has done is written an article for a trade publication, made a presentation on a website that would have to be read or looked at technical drawings. Are rights lost? No. The applicant will have a year under US law to get its application on file with the priority date being a minimum of that within that year period. So in other words, January 1st, this presentation is made. If the priority date is of the January 1st, 2021 is the presentation, and then January 1st, 2022, just before that, say December 31st, it's filed, you're okay, because you filed within 1 year. You have that 1 year grace period. Okay, now, what do we mean by priority date? I want to emphasize this. The priority date is the date on which you filed, in this situation, the Indian application which is then used to file in the PCT. The PCT has two stages, the international and the national stage. You must file your international application under U.S. law within 1 year of your Indian application to qualify. Once you have filed, then your application must be filed in the U.S. 30 months from the priority date. Now, let's see if we can cover this fairly quickly, because I'm running out of time. Say you filed your application on August 1st, 2021. You would have until August 1st, 2022 to file your international application, and your priority date would be August 1st, 2021. Okay. Your deadline for filing in the national stage, however, is February 1, 2024. You gain all that time. Now, suppose the applicant said, I don't want to spend that money going through the PCT. I'd rather file directly and just have that fee for filing it, effectively bypassing the international stage. If the applicant does that, they have to file within 1 year of the Indian filing date. So it pays to use the PCT. This marks the end of the period of time that I have, and we can go on from there and discuss about how we do licensing and other matters at another time. Thank you.